So this hourglass that I've got drawn here represents, this way is population size, and this way is time. So this is moving into the future this way. Now, in this whole population here, we've got, let's call it some sort of animal, like some sort of cat or whatever, okay? The yellow circles represent a rare color morph that is highly desirable. Actually, Hannah, will you look and see if that's actually filming properly? This is some sort of rare color morph that happens, and it happens in squirrels, cats, all sorts of things, like melanism or albinism or something like that. The red circles or pink circles are a recessive body size issue. Maybe it's unusually large, like appears to be a trophy animal, right? In the blue, that's a recessive gene for a degenerative eyesight, right? You very rarely see it in the population. It's there, but it's recessive, and a lot of the organisms don't even have, they're not even carriers of the gene, so you don't see it very often. And then in this population, there's a huge push for poaching, let's say. And something starts it, there's a new black market for this organism, and poaching is really at an all-time high. So very few organisms survive, but the ones that do survive, there's a few blue ones and one yellow one, okay? And when poaching is stopped, then we have very few organisms left to rebuild the population. Now, let's say humans do everything they can, captive breeding, protection, sanctuaries, and all sort of other stuff. Do everything we can, and the population starts to come back. Great. But now nearly all of them have the gene for a degenerative eyesight that prevents them from really surviving in the wild. And now the rare color morph is extremely rare. And then it gets targeted almost immediately by the poaching that's left, okay? And there's no way to fix an organism's genes. You can't go back in time and try to save genetic diversity. So these genetic bottlenecks can cause a serious problem moving into the future for the health of these organisms. So what you get as a result of the bottleneck, some genetic diversity is just gone. Like my rare body size, the big, really special ones, the trophy animals, they're just gone altogether. The genetics no longer exist. The recessive traits may be far too common. See, here, some of them didn't even have it. It's not like they're all blue. They didn't all have the recessive trait. But now, nearly all of them do. So their recessive trait, the undesirable recessive trait, is now way too common in the population. And those recessive traits, because you remember it takes 2 recessive alleles to be expressed, right? Remember that, homozygous recessive? No, okay. Well, it takes 2 recessive alleles. It takes 2 recessive alleles for a recessive trait to be expressed. That was 9th grade biology. Glad we had this talk here, because that's refresh your memory. Anyway, so now they're being expressed. Now they're not just carrying the gene, now they have legit, they're going blind. And they're out there in the wild, and they're not surviving. The reason why is because of inbreeding. Pretty much unavoidable. When you've only got 3 left and you try to rebuild the population, you're going to have some cousin action going on. You're going to have inbreeding. And then in yellow, the desirable trait for the rare color morph is now extremely rare. It was rare before, but now it's unbelievably rare. And even if these 2 animals were to die of natural causes, then that genetic diversity would be lost. But if they were targeted by poachers before, now they're worth millions, right? So they're going to be targeted over and above. They almost guaranteed to not survive. That's a genetic bottleneck.